You know,
Hey, welcome everybody.
hey,
Now go ahead. Go ahead with your comment.
nah, we're good.
Oh, listen, I just need everybody to know
Yeah.
we live. That's all. I don't need anything busting out that you were like,
Listen, I
oh
want you to
man,
stay on
we're
the
already
air,
supposed to hear
okay?
that way.
More followers, stay on the air. Let's
Blah,
just
blah,
keep it
blah.
moving.
Yeah.
All right.
Blickety plow.
There you go.
We're
You didn't say
10
it
minutes
right.
behind anyway.
Welcome to Thursday, people.
Yes, indeed.
All is well.
METHOD, man.
And oh,
All is well in the land of bold.
yes, all is well. All right, so welcome. Make sure you guys are sharing. Sharing is caring. Hey, Mama Corey.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Lisa.
Lisa in the building.
Well,
I was looking for
Well,
the early.
Lisa be as one thing that you could learn from Lisa, AD.
Yes, sir.
Lisa be on time.
I mean, hey, Lisa not only
That's what
is
you
on.
do. That's what
Lisa,
that's how we're gonna start
you
off.
want a
Just like
lesson in commitment, loyalty, dedication.
yes, we appreciate you, Lisa. Definitely.
Shout out to
appreciate
Lisa Young.
it. Shout out to Lisa. Thank you. I just had to get rid of Kaneem for a minute. He just need to go on timeout. He's gonna start already. Don't start.
I mean, don't get me twisted. Shout out to my mama too.
Yeah, mama come through. Right. Mama come
Yeah.
through. Hey, morning. Appreciate you.
Hey, Mama Corey is consistent and dedicated. She be there every day. I'm just saying, but Lisa be on time. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. I got it. You know. He said yes. I'll be over here like, where y'all at?
Listen, I have a meeting with Lisa every single week.
I see you.
Okay.
I want you to
single week.
I
Lisa and I've been-
recognize your punctuality.
Lisa and I have been meeting every single week for over a year. I'm probably close to 2 years now. And she's never been late. She's always there before I get there.
Nice.
And always trying to hold somebody accountable. What's up with that?
I see your punctuality.
All right. Today we're talking about the school to prison pipeline and all the different facets that have
Oh wow.
come with it.
You went deep, dude.
I went a little heavy. Went a little heavy on this Thursday.
Like my buddy used to say, deep like Jacques Cousteau feet.
Jacques Cousteau, man.
I'll take you back. I'm telling you, I'll take you back.
Take it back. Let's take it back.
Jacques Cousteau, man, that take you back to He-Man.
Oh yeah, we talking 80s now. I mean, you know, nobody really even thinking about him in the 90s and the 2000s.
Nah.
Mm-mm. All right.
He's the man.
Anyway, pipeline prison. You say what
School.
what
School to prison pipeline.
School to prison pipeline, brother.
School to prison.
School to prison pipeline.
Yes, sir.
So you are educated and groomed to go to prison.
Mm.
Good way of putting it.
Good way. That's a good way.
Okay.
How you feel about that, Kaneem? Before we even get started, how you feel about just that statement? Do you feel like you've seen it? You've been a part of it? You know, not saying you've been in prison like that, but just have you been,
for me, when I think back, when I have the image in my head, it's only in urban areas in major cities.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just what's in my head. So
right.
I know we had it where I was, but was we educated in school? Most of my partners didn't even want to go to school. You know what I'm saying? Like when I got to high school, 9th grade, I'm hanging with cats who either dropped out of school or already graduated. You know what I'm saying? And I was in the 9th grade, so I would ride the bus to school, walk back to the basketball gym. My homeboy would come pick me up in his car from the basketball gym. We ride around all day just doing a whole lot of nothing. He come drop me back off at the end of school. I get back on the bus, and then I go home. So I didn't miss 5, 6 classes.
So let me ask you this question, Kaneem. Where did that start at though? Like you didn't just start off missing school.
Oh no,
Where did that start?
This is like 6th grade, 7th grade. I
Right,
said,
but why did you start missing school?
I think one of the reasons, well, I guess it was peer pressure because my buddy was like, "Hey man, let's go ride the bus over here." And instead of me getting on the school bus, I got on the metro bus.
Right.
And we went over there. That's when I got my first dime bag of weed. I think I was like 12, 13.
Wow.
And this back when they had them in the little manila envelopes, the little small manila envelopes, and you go up to the door. And, you slide your money to the door, but open up and slide back that little manila envelope. You go zigzags and top papers, and this back when you smoking joints. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
way before blunts.
Right.
So yeah, I think that was it, man. Doing that once I started doing that, it was like, oh, and we was having fun and we was meeting girls, and like you just become a teenager. It was like, oh yeah, blah 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 blah. So it was early, man. So I probably about 6th grade.
Wow.
It was 6th grade because all the cats that I was talking about that I met when I got to high school who had graduated or dropped out.
Right.
I started meeting them early. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
By the time I got to high school, they was graduating.
So you're talking about cats that already dropped out of school and everything else. And that's the thing where when you start thinking about the school to prison pipeline, it's not just, there's a theory out there about the school to prison pipeline that if you're not reading at grade level at 3rd grade, they're starting to build prisons because of that. And in essence, people call it a theory because it's not the reason, but it is a marker for them to understand, okay, if you're not reading at this level, more than likely you're not going to be graduating. And this determines graduate levels. People who don't graduate on time, drop out of school and other things, find themselves in this pipeline. And there's statistics to show the chances of you going to prison if you don't graduate and you come from a certain neighborhood, then you're going to be in prison. So there's a lot of things that feed into why people don't read at grade level at 3rd grade also. Right. And then we start thinking about these standardized testing and everything else and how you determine how much effort you're going to put into a child that's in school, that's not reading at their grade level or maybe a little bit hard to reach, maybe overly active and don't have parents that are able to come and provide additional support. I mean, there's so many different little things that go in this, and I'll share a little bit about an article I wrote maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago about one of the key elements to the school to prison pipeline.
So so it's the thinking, because I'm like, I'm thinking about Kaneem. I'm going back, what was my 6th grade like? Like, could I have been influenced to step out of that space? I figured like 6th grade, I struggled. It was hard. Like academically, like it seemed like beginning the 5th, killing the game. Seemed like 6th grade, like it was hurting. I was like, I got to put a whole lot of effort into this to try to just make it. And so like, I don't know, like I was never a daring person though. Like, like I was never that, yeah, let's do it, kind of person to jump out there, and dropping out or not being in school was not something that I seen a lot, in my circle. I'll say that. Well, at least people that I was closest to. So it was always like the friends they went to school. They weren't nerds, but they did decent in school. I was the one that always kind of struggled. But do you feel like is it that influence or that lack of support when things are going wrong? Like you said, if I'm falling behind my reading level, struggling with this, struggling with that, it's the support of it's gonna be okay. We got you. You know what I'm saying? Like we we can get through this as a school? Do you feel like it's the lack of support that kind of sets you up to start looking at alternatives to where you at? Because when you're in sixth grade, there's no job. There's no jobs. That's can't just back in the way back. Sixth grade was an education you can stop. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go get this job. Like I think I've reached my capacity of school. I'm gonna just go get this job. There's not really that alternative, and like Kadeem said, you got your homeboy, you got the pressure. Like, I suck anyway at school. Or school ain't my thing, because I think Kadeem said school he didn't really struggle, but he's just like, they're not my thing. I'm gonna go hang out because it's fun. You young. We do what's temporary and what feels good, and you got enough people influence. Like, let's do this thing, and then you out of the system. But do you feel like it's a support? I think I've heard you say that. Just kind of digging into this a little bit, Thomas.
Okay, so yeah, it's a lot of times I thought you were talking Kaneem, that's why I was pausing.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's to both of you guys. I'm just
But but before you say that, Thomas, I apologize, man. But it sounds like the way that you're presenting it, AD, is it almost sounds like we have to look at ourselves as opposed to
maybe
the system.
No, I think the way I'm presenting it is I'm a child. I'm gonna do what childs do. Childs try to find the easiest, funnest thing, possible, right? And when things get challenging or difficult, is there a support system to encourage me to continue or pursue education as opposed to just failing me out, leaving me behind? That's kind of where I'm coming from. Yes.
So in regard to that, as he asked you to speak on it, Thomas, I'm gonna ask you something. I'm gonna try to increase the complexity a little bit so that you can go longer.
Uh-oh.
Go longer, not grow longer. So think about this. Our attention span. You said, AD, you talked about when things get tough,
Yes.
Because we think about the policies that are in place in the educational system,
right, and
the impact of those policies,
right.
So if I am losing, if I don't have a great attention span, it could be that I'm intimidated. I don't want to get in trouble, but because we have stricter disciplinary policies, we have the standardized testing, right? We have all of these things, and so the thought of the work and the standardized testing and the policies in the school will drive me to do something else, which gets me in trouble. Right. So is it me as a child, as a middle schooler, or is it my fear or my relationship with the system, the policies that are in? Because I know that, obviously economics play a role in all that kind of stuff, and when you're weaker economically, there's going to be more issues. You have less resources, but the school does not pay attention to you anyway. So speak to that infrastructure. I hope I'm making sense, man, because in my mind, and maybe I'm the one that's going long. in my mind, the idea behind the narrative is all these factors within the educational system that create the gaps and the issues for those that slip between the cracks and end up in prison later.
So the answer is yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. Everything that's been said this morning, all that plays into it. Policies, schools that you go to, the communities that you're raised in, the parenting that you have. So I'll just throw it out there right now. I wrote a paper 4 or 5 weeks ago about how oral health is a precursor to the school to prison pipeline. And people say, well, how's oral health a precursor to the school to prison pipeline? Because if you have a child who has poor oral health habits, they're going to miss school. If they miss school, they're going to get behind. If they get behind, the teacher's not going to put a lot of effort into them. And as they continue down this process, now you multiply that exponentially by the years that they continue to go to school in the same way of living. if they get behind, they're not going to put a lot of effort in. It's just as an adult, if we feel like we can't really overcome something, we don't even put the effort into it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like we go hard because we're adults and we know better. No,
Right.
kid. Now you put a kid who's just learning how to live life into these situations, and they have to try to figure out something they've never been a part of before.
Right.
And now you're throwing these curveballs at them. Third graders are 8 years old. I mean, how much does an 8-year-old really know? You know, and if you're not getting the right type of structure and systems around them, then it becomes a problem. And now, if you look at policies and where zero tolerance policies that are out there, so now you have an 8-year-old who's in the third grade who's behind in their reading level, and you have these zero tolerance policies within schools. What ends up happening is now this begins to impact that child because you have resource officers in the schools now that are now providing discipline. You're having them interact with police officers. They call them resource officers, but they're now interacting with police. When this begins to happen, it's a whole lot of different things that are happening. Now, there's a study that's been done by the Kaiser Permanente Foundation and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and it's on ACEs. ACEs are adverse childhood experiences.
Mhm.
And your childhood experience score kind of shows up of, you know, these are some of the things that you may experience in the future. One of the issues there is having a parent that's incarcerated. And it's interesting to see that the numbers of people who grew up in a household with a parent that's incarcerated. So, you know, a lot of the kids that find themselves in these cycles have grown up in a household that's full of poverty or a parent that's been incarcerated. 62% of all parents or the people that have gone to prison, their parents did not complete high school. And so what kind of cycles are they living through in that situation? And, you know, these are a lot of statistics out there. I'm not just going to throw a bunch of statistics out there, but there's a lot of different things that we have to be mindful of that lead to this school to prison pipeline. We can't just sit here and look at the child and go, you should do better.
Right.
You should pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, they don't have boots. They don't have bootstraps.
Right.
They don't have the things that are necessary for them to overcome the structures. And like I said, if you want to see something that's really crazy, volunteer at a local high school in a community that's underserved in Atlanta, and just walk into that school during a time where everybody's going from one class to the next.
Right.
And look at the structure. Sit in a class with the teacher and listen to how they talk to their students.
Right.
They are not really looking at these students as people who can succeed. They're there just, let me get my check, let me do what I'm supposed to do. And it's kind of wild. And you know, the preparation, schools sometimes are run like preparation for juvenile hall. Put your hands behind your back, put one shoulder against the wall, the types of things that are being done. So Kaneem said something earlier. This is usually what you'll see in inner city schools.
Right.
You won't see this anywhere else.
Interesting.
You go out there to rural, and just to co-sign what Thomas was saying, because I got a lot of families out in rural areas that's kind of distant, you know what I'm saying? So when I used to go to Louisiana, but Lafayette, Louisiana, Cecilia, Louisiana, Broke Ridge, stuff like that.
Right.
Out that way, it's real. They only got one high school for about 2 or 3 cities. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So you go out there and they got most are trailer homes. The family that I had, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they don't have houses out there, but when I went to visit my family, they was in trailer homes and stuff like that. And you go out there and they just, you know, and we think we was wilding, they was wilding, but they ain't have law enforcement coming down on them. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so spread out and sparse population. You know what I'm saying? It was like you could get away with all kinds of stuff.
Gotcha.
But when you in a dense crabs in a bucket.
Right.
You got probably one police officer for every 10 citizens
Right.
in your one little community
Yeah.
or neighborhood. You know, and it's just it's a lot. Well, for me now, I'm saying from where I was, it was a lot because we knew the police. It wasn't because they was coming around, hey, well, doing positive things, or we
Right.
finna bring you
Yeah.
brown bags and lunches, or
Right.
we finna have
Right.
this
Reaching out,
bazaar
feel like
going.
comfortable with them.
It wasn't none of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hands up against the car.
Yeah.
You know who I am?
Right.
They call me Red.
Wow.
Red. Well, you ever seen a coon ass?
Oh.
It's red. That's what they call, so you know what a coon is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, but there's some Texas stuff though. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy out there, man. And you learning this at like you said, 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you get an 8, 9-year-old pull up against a car,
Right.
and you got authority police officer, badge and gun,
right,
asking you, do you know what a
right?
You feel what I'm saying?
I do.
Right.
I feel you.
And from that point on, every time you see him,
Yeah.
because you don't never see his face,
Right.
y'all they go red.
Right.
They go red.
Right.
Red coming.
Right.
You know, and he ain't coming to bring you no flowers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
Yeah. I feel you. I think that's we've lost a lot of that in the community. There's such a fear of police when it should be, oh man, whew, the cops are here. You know, like, it should be a relief. Like, well, thank God, the cops are here.
That's a whole
grooming you that way.
Right.
That's a different conversation to me when you think about, because you think about law enforcement today. I told you guys that book, The Black and the Blue.
Yeah.
I can't even think of the author's name now. But it was so intriguing to read that book from the perspective of a Black police officer and the interaction with other police officers and the complicity in how they deal with certain demographics, right? It's scary is what it is. But when you go back and do the history of law enforcement and all that, it begins to explain a whole lot of things. And it also begins to explain why even people of color in law enforcement fall into that. Right. When that happens. Right. But Thomas, you said something earlier, and I can't remember if I heard you correctly. You talked about single parenthood and a percentage of single parent households that produce.
Not single parent, just parents that are incarcerated. And so when we talk about the number of parents that have been previously incarcerated before their children and how the cycle continues because of, the just cycles of incarceration.
Okay.
And, with that, I can, there's a statistic that's out there in Georgia that nearly 200,000 children in Georgia have been impacted by parental incarceration. Wow. Children of inmates are 3 times more likely to become justice involved. It's like when you have a parent that's been incarcerated, the statistics show that your chances of being incarcerated go up exponentially. So there's so many different things. Yeah. And you talked about grooming, when you started talking about grooming to how you interact with the police and everything. The interesting thing about school to prison pipeline is suspensions. If you start thinking about school suspensions, and that's literally statistically proven that children who get suspended in high school are more likely to be involved with the justice system. And those who are being suspended in high school are generally Black and brown people on a higher level and a higher rate than any other race. And so if we think about, when we talk about the justice system, we often say that Blacks get heftier sentences than whites do. And it's kind of like our system, the way it is, even in school. Black and brown children get heftier suspensions than for the same issue. There's this video that you can go out there and watch on School to Prison Pipeline. I got to look it up. I'll put the link out there for you guys before the end of this. But basically, it's talking about how this study did. They followed students and found that for the same exact issue, white students were not getting punished the way black people were, and black people were getting punished for trivial things. Black kids were getting punished for trivial things like how they had their hair done that day and different other little things.
Yeah.
And so, there's these biases that come within our system,
Right.
and we have to think about the education system in America and how many we think, man, it's been so long ago that everything should be fair, and the integration of school systems, that was, people forget that wasn't that long ago. And that even today, there's still schools integrating certain things. And so it's not, school integration is not something that's, centuries ago. We're talking decades, if that. And so there's a lot of different biases within the school system. There's a lot of different trials. And, I have this thought, like, school systems in the inner city don't get funded the way schools in the north side do, right? And I used to say that. And I talked to a middle school principal one time. He's like, no, we have great funding. We just have to use it on different things.
Right.
And it's, metal detectors. It's the way they, have to function on a regular basis, or they think they have to function within those schools.
Yeah. They talk about, when you talk about the harsh disciplinary practices, zero tolerance policies,
Right.
That is targeting a certain demographic simply because you don't have the resources at home. Right. And so it creates a pattern of behavior. You also talk about, the way someone wears their hair. That it sets or establishes a trigger in the mindset of a young person.
Right.
Because now they're going to be triggered and on edge by anything that a person of authority says to them. Right. Because if you're picking on my hair, I don't want to hear anything you have to say if you're talking to me about my hair.
Right.
It's gaslighting.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I didn't say, I was just saying, why are you so angry? Why are you so right? I mean, you think about the situation, it took time to get my hair done. I got to go back and tell my mama I can't wear my hair like this.
Right.
Somebody else has to redo my hair and it takes 2 hours to get my hair done. No,
right.
We're not going to have a conversation. Whatever please don't send me home because of my hair, because you don't know what it's going to do to me at home. Yeah, they're going to be mad at you, but it's going to shake up some stuff at the house. So it's all of those little things. Coming to school late, a child being upset because they're hungry.
Right.
Young person being upset. You got an attitude because you're hungry. They use commercials. Snickers really satisfies, right? What happens to you when you haven't had your Snickers? We see these commercials all the time, but we ignore that when it comes to young people in school.
True.
They're mad because they're hungry. They're mad because somebody got in trouble before they left home. Right. And what I've learned is these harsh penalties, and to your point, Thomas, the zero tolerance policies and that kind of stuff, and the investing the money on the metal detector, it does nothing to fix the real issue. It does nothing to fix the issue. And so what I've learned is there are certain demographics, there are certain institutions, certain environments where they would prefer their safety over justification for really going after the real issue. That's
I don't know, man. I think the protection of faculty and students is important.
Right.
And when you grow up in a city like that and you get guns and knives and anything like that, because I know when they had just started putting them in when I was in high school, and it's a big deterrent. You know what I'm saying? Stuff wouldn't occur inside the hallways. Let me say that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying that it stopped it, but it hit the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't in the cafeteria. Right. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't in the cafeteria. Right. It wasn't in the hallways.
Right.
It wasn't. It wasn't. So I think that was the bigger difference.
Okay.
Is that they kind of because it could have been a lot. Well, I mean, not with the mass shootings that they got now, but I think it kind of would have been that earlier in the 80s.
I got you. had we not
if
had
they didn't have the metal detectors,
right,
because some innocent student or faculty member got shot because somebody just started popping off
Right.
inside the cafeteria.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So
right,
I can't say that, but the funding as far as the actual students, I think that they got away from actually nurturing the students. It was more, hey, you ain't gonna do this, like you say, the zero tolerance. Hey,
right,
you ain't gonna do this, I ain't got time to play with you. I got 28 other students to worry about. You don't wanna do
Right.
this. Hey,
right,
you go over there, you go talk to this counselor, you go to detention,
right,
whatever it is. If you disrupting, it's not my duty as your teacher. I'm here to educate you and not nurture you, not make sure that you mentally stable. He's a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Put him with the problem people.
yeah,
So I think they got away from that part.
yeah,
See, that's my point. See, I agree with you there wholeheartedly, man. I feel like I know that from a safety, from a precautionary standpoint and deterrence perspective, it's necessary. I just feel like we go do that and don't do anything else, to your point.
yeah.
We don't go deal with the root of the issue.
I think so. Yeah.
And that's the part, the root. We're dealing with the fruit of things. We're not
Right.
dealing with the social
The root.
determinants of health.
Right.
When it comes to the people in inner cities, we're not seeing that these kids are having challenges at home and it's disrupting their ability to be educated the right way.
Yeah.
We're not seeing that, kids are making bad decisions and to miss school instead of trying to bring them back into school, we're just going to let them go even further out.
Yeah.
There's no determinants to pull them back into school. You said something else, Brian, earlier about how is this a discipline issue for us and everything else? Because a lot of it has to do with what we're also environmentally exposed to.
Yeah.
If my homeboy is over here doing this, then I'm going to do this. But we have a thing in our own community. It's like a rush to the dumbest person. Who can be the dumbest, right? I'm gonna, you going to school, man? Man, you stupid, man. Ain't nothing happening at that school. They ain't gonna do nothing for you.
Right.
I mean, how many times growing up did I hear, man, you get a bachelor's degree, you ain't gonna get no job anyways.
Right,
Everybody, they had their, all these people got these degrees, ain't got no jobs, right?
Right.
And,
all of them.
it's like you hear the dumbest things ever, and we believe them. And but this is a part of the systemic issues that have indoctrinated us. And we have to begin to challenge that indoctrination, because if we don't, we're going to continue to self-destruct. We don't have to worry. People don't have to worry about putting things in place for us to become slaves. The jail system is there. The prison system is there. The 13th Amendment is there. Right. We can make you a slave legally today. All we need you to do is be dumb enough to go to it.
Right. Right.
And so we're going to create a system, and this is my mind, and I can back it up by facts, but we're going to create a system that puts you in a position where you're going to have to make some questionable decisions. And those questionable decisions, if you slip at all, you will find yourself in a system that won't want to let you go.
Right. Yeah. I got a question.
Yeah, they put a stamp on you. It's like when you get your Social Security card when you're born.
Yeah.
It goes with you. So when you get that felony, it goes with you. You know what I'm saying? Like you got your Social Security card, you got driver's license, and you got your felony. What's your arrest record look like? You got any felonies on that?
Right.
It's with you.
And AD, before you say what you're going to say, just think about this. We have this move for changing juvenile justice policies to be, not as tough and to be more lenient on juveniles. Statistically, everyone knows that if you are arrested as a juvenile, your chances of going to a prison are exponentially higher, even more. I use the word exponentially because it's across the board when it comes to being suspended from school, when it comes to going to juvenile justice. So they don't really need to lock you up right then. They know you're going to come back around.
Right.
And they already know it. They're planning for you to come back around. They statistically know this is what's going to happen. I don't need to lock you up right now. We can just make it look like we're doing reform, and we're not really doing reform. We're just allowing you a little bit more time so you can do something that's even deeper and get locked up longer. And I know they're not out there just saying this, but the policies that they're putting in place to get tough on crime since, way back, and the war on drugs and everything else is showing that this is what we're going to do. Here's a crazy statistic for you. There's back in the days, there's this 100-to-1 crack law, and I think it's 18-to-1 now or something like that. I haven't looked it up lately. But what it means is for 1 gram, it takes 100 times more cocaine to get sentenced for the same amount of crack. So if you have 1 gram of crack, that's the same as 100 grams of cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And now the people who are getting locked up for crack, and historically from the 80s all the way till now, the people who are getting locked up for crack, 88% of them are African American Black.
Wow.
88%. And you're getting sentenced 100 times worse. So if you have 5 grams of crack, that's the same as 500 grams of cocaine.
Yeah.
And you're getting the same sentence.
And most of them are users. Most of them ain't even dealers.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you start to look at the disparities in the system, so you take disparity in the system, you take disparity in the schools, you take disparity in the community, you have these young kids who are now eating all these high fructose corn syrups and all these other things. And now they got to try to make decisions because, back in the days when we were latchkey kids and we could go home, we could do our own thing. We didn't need parental supervision because we knew we'd get our head knocked off, right? You can't even knock the kid's head off today. They'll be okay. Just put it back on. But the reality is we have to be able to, we can't discipline the same way. And our parents don't want to discipline the same way. They don't have the same capacity and the skill to discipline either. And so it's this, cycle that is created that continues to feed into this other system. And the one thing that can stop it is if we can do better.
Yeah. You said something earlier, Thomas, about getting in trouble, and you made me think about the catch and release program. Right? At an early age, they'll catch you, arrest you, and then let you go.
Right.
And you go home, you go back to the hood, and you brag about getting locked up recently.
Well, technically, you was detained. They just wanted to get that Polaroid.
They just wanted to get that Polaroid.
Sure they had that Polaroid.
Yep. And that's the point about, we'll see you later.
Right.
And the next time we see you, you'll already be in the system. So it'll be easier to lock you up.
And you was affiliated with the neighborhood, wherever you were, Cloverland, whether you was Herschelwood, Pearl Homes, or Acres Home. Well, these are neighborhoods I'm talking about.
No, I got it.
Wherever you took that Polaroid at, they put you right there in that little old category. It wasn't quite a gang.
Right.
What area he from? Oh, he's from Acres Home. This way, look at it. I bet you they associate. Oh, he Pearl Home.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He was Studewood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Put those gang enhancements on you. Now we can pump your sentence up a little bit more too, because you're a threat to public safety.
Right. Wow.
And when we talked about metal detectors in schools, we know that there's a justification to put them in all schools. If you really want to think about it, school shootings don't always happen in inner cities. Matter of fact, they happen less in inner cities than they do in other communities, right? At least that's what we see on the media.
Right.
So there's a reason. We know that guns are more prevalent now than they've ever been, probably, except for the Wild Wild West, right? And so there's a reason to protect everywhere. But why is it only in certain areas? Because they don't want to groom you for thinking of jails and prisons. They want to groom you for thinking about colleges and entrepreneurship and all these other things in other parts of the city.
Right.
In some places, they kind of feel like this is where you're going to go. I mean, there's just so much information out there that shows how the collective mindset thinks about the inner city. And thinks about young Black males and if you're poor and you come from a certain place, chances are this is your outcome, what's going to happen.
Right.
And so, it's up to us to really see that and not complaining about what is, but what can we do differently? You know,
No doubt.
there's a movement to for restorative justice, which is, you know, a platform where you can talk about certain things and begin to bring victim and offender together and talk things out and certain things. So restorative justice and restorative practices within schools, they've been great ways of helping people outlet a little bit. But even when you're at school, people still have to go home.
Right.
Once they go home, what kind of systems and resources do they have within their house that can help the whole household grow together?
Right.
So even if you're reaching the child, they still have to go home. Everybody's seen a movie before where this child is such a special gifted child at school, but they go home, they have to take care of mama, do this.
Right.
They got a little brother and
Yeah.
sister they got to take care
Yep.
of. And
Yeah.
so, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and sell drugs.
Right. 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 His giftedness is not getting me paid.
Not getting me paid.
That's big. Oh, so I just wanted to ask, have you got, they used to call them like truancy officers. I don't know if he was an official truancy officer. He was a coach, a dean. I remember, like, if you go run into the park, like he would show up and everybody would scatter, like, oh my God, this is, I can't even remember his name. But everyone would run back to school though. Like, because he would, you know, because there was a connection. He probably knew your parents. Like, he knew where, you know, he knew where we hung out. He knew where cats, you know, when they cut school, where they would go. And he would kind of wrangle folk up, get them back to school. And, you know, but did you guys have anybody like that in your neighborhood? Like that would just get you, that had a way of getting you
Yeah,
back to school?
we had something like that, but
You respected them.
we just call them sweeps when we're doing
Okay.
they come around.
Yeah.
But it was all the coaches on the athletics program.
Right.
It would be
Right.
either basketball, football, could be swimming. I mean, it was all dudes, but no women
Right.
out there wrangling
Right.
nobody.
Right.
But as far as them having a title as well, they may have had a title.
No,
I mean, we ain't
it was never an official title. I remember I just was saying it by title. I didn't know if you guys ever dealt with someone with a title. I just know that's what they would do. I guess, you know, the school would let them do it. Like, hey, go out there and get them kids. Y'all know where they at.
Yeah, I mean,
so we had little security guards at high school. They'd roll around in golf carts and different other things. Okay. And you know, that's the way it used to be. Now you got straight up police officers on campus. You know, it's different today. It's, you know, they're allowing the juvenile justice system to handle discipline.
Right.
You know, crazy thing is when I was growing up, I think back to a lot of stuff I did compared to what a lot of these young kids do now. I would have been in jail over and over again.
Long time. Yeah.
I mean, as many fights as I've had, talking back to teachers and other little things, you know,
just making
back then we were able to fight, walk away, and be okay. Yeah. We get suspended or something, but you know, now you got these police officers on campus slapping handcuffs on kids.
Yeah, my wife, she deal with them, APD and MARTA police and the like you talking about the school resource officers, the captains and stuff like that. Yeah. And she's like, the school resource officers are like the worst because they just really getting a check. You know what I'm saying? They'll be watching kids walk on and off campus. But she said when she be with APD and MARTA police, she said that they got certain days of the week that they go and actually scour the city looking for Tina. Like when they had them water boys and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The wife's like, oh yeah, we got to shut that down. You see, any water, if they under 18, they supposed to be in school. What was their last school they attended? You take them back to the school they attended, and if they withdrawn, then we need to know that they withdrawn. Are they skipping? Are they withdrawn? Are they suspended? Are they expelled? Why are they out here and they under 18? Right. And she is, and so taking them to court, the wife be all up on that.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. Hit them water boys. I mean, like some spots, like they just, they almost get hit. Yeah, it's crazy out there. But Yeah, that I just was wondering because I know, like I said, we had a guy that would do that, probably like I think two, and it like you said, they were usually like coaches, um, or they were all, or some was like in school suspension people, but they would just
Male
they
people,
roll
yeah.
around and they'll run everybody off or get it because they were usually at the park. It was only like two places we at. Like they ain't a plethora of places to go, like to really just hang and loiter. Like it's only
Yeah.
like the park was the only spot that you could really be at. There's like two parks we were at. You know, our town wasn't that big. But
Because
yeah.
they'll go through most of them. They'll just go through the complex, apartment complexes.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
that's probably where they knew they was gonna be at. So they come
Right.
with the big old white van, and you know they come over there. Probably about two or three of them. And, yeah, hey, the van be full of kids back there, boy. School you went to? School you? We gotta go drop him off over here. We gotta drop him off over there. Well, anyway, man, I gotta get on off here, man. I
Nah,
got
you
attend
good.
on,
We're
man.
about to roll up out of here anyway.
Hey, y'all
Thank you for being
have
on
a
here,
good one,
Kenny.
man.
All right,
sir.
All right,
Method
brother.
Man.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so basically we hope you got something out of this today. We just were talking about the school to prison pipeline. Forgive me, my title does not match right now because we kind of threw an audible. I just thought about it because we have been wanting to talk about this kind of topic for a while. Actually, and we didn't really even hit on the original question, which I now kind of remember that you had mentioned several weeks. So we're going to get to that a little bit, maybe Friday or next week. We'll see. We'll see. So hopefully you got something out of it. So it's a lot going on with the school system. It's a lot going on. So you just got to be vigilant, with your children, and look at your politicians. We always talk about voting. Make sure you're registered to vote because this matters as well, especially if you're voting for your school board, who's on the board, because they decide what happens inside the schools. All right. So be vigilant. Do your due diligence. We appreciate you guys for being here. Jeff said it was really interesting. Appreciate what Thomas had to say. Appreciate you guys. Got a little quiet in the comments. I was waiting for some outrage or something. Appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part. We look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. It's Freestyle Friday. It's liable for anything to go down. So if all hearts and minds are clear, anything?
No, mine ain't clear yet.
It's not clear yet. I got a little more to say.
Have you ever had anyone actually say that? All hearts and minds are clear. Wait. Yeah, but
I'm guilty of that.
No, listen. The absolute worst is when you're in church and there's a guest and the pastor says, "Hey, if you want to say a few words," and they come up and preach a little sermonette. I want to thank God for Pastor. I appreciate y'all being here. It's a great service. What I got out of this word today, what you're like, oh Lord, he about to preach.
When I was on my way here,
right?
Talking to the Lord, and He told me that I was going to get a word. I didn't realize I was going to get that word.
Right. Right. Oh man. Jeff says, you know what, Jeff? I'm about sick of you. He said, I'm in Cabo putting my suitcase together.
It's the third time he's mentioned Cabo, and Jeff had the audacity to send me video.
Oh,
listen,
I see them.
Cabo is a great place to be.
It is, man.
It is. I will say this, though. I think we need to. I do want to say one last thing. My hearts and minds ain't clear.
Okay.
I got hearts and minds.
You got hearts and minds.
This school to prison pipeline, like we can sit here and complain about it all day. We know that it's out there. We know some of the challenges and pitfalls that people face in coming into the school to prison pipeline. I want to challenge people to get involved somewhere, some way, to start to deter our young kids from going to jails and prisons. Right. Figure out a way that you can get involved. Find an organization you get involved with. Find a youth that you can mentor. Find some way of trying to disrupt these cycles of incarceration, because it's not going to go away on its own.
Right.
And we can research it, we can study it, we can know all the things about it, but until we stop feeding it, it's going to stick around. And so the way to stop feeding it is to really begin to, if there's a family that you can reach out to mentor or somebody. Back in the days, there's a saying, each one teach one or each one reach one, however you want to say it, back in the days. And I started thinking about that years ago. And I said, no, that's not good enough. It has to be each one reach 100. And the reason why I say that challenge is because we're losing people, like I said, exponentially. So if we're going to be able to turn this thing around, it's going to be an exponential turnaround. And so as we all come together and we begin to reach the ones we want to reach, then we'll be able to make a big difference in this school to prison pipeline and begin to change the incarceration numbers in the United States.
Definitely. So that's real. Get involved, be a part of your community, help a school out, volunteer, and see what needs they have. They always need. They always need something, need a body somewhere. Before we go, just a little something to lighten the mood a little bit. This gentleman is 45 years old. He's known as Musiq Soulchild. I don't know. Can you guys see that? Can you see that, Thomas?
Yep.
All right. And he did something very amazing. This is what we do at 45. Hold on. I don't know. You may not be able to hear it, and purposely, actually, I'm gonna keep it on mute because it's playing his music, and you know how YouTube and Facebook gets. So hold on. Let me see. So you watching? All right. Let's go. Watch this. That's how you recover.
That's how you recover. You just
went right back into
up.
singing.
I didn't miss
He just jumped back up, went right back into singing. That's how you recover.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that. Appreciate you guys for rocking and hanging with us this morning.
Well, you roll it over and jump back up.
Jump back up. Like, ain't nobody seen that. I meant to do that. I meant to do that.
But hey, like you say, when you get older, that's what it looks like.
Right. He said it looks familiar, right?
It looks familiar.
Listen, exactly. I did it on purpose. You know, it's so funny. I tell people, I said, you're getting older when you fall and everybody gasps and nobody laughs. You know, like, oh my gosh. You know, when you're young, you fall, they laugh at you, like, you know, then they check out, you all right?
Yeah.
That was funny. You know,
now they need to see, is your hip okay?
Right.
Do we need to call 911?
When you fall and you can't recover, you just kind of lay there like, I can't believe I just fell. I can't believe I just fell. Oh man. All right, guys. So we appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. Thank you guys for sharing and being a part. Thank you, Thomas, for being here and sharing your knowledge. Definitely don't take it for granted. Doing a lot of research. He's doing a lot of great work. Two things, as you can, well, no, you probably can't see, but check out Disruptive Dialogue on all platforms. I think he's coming back this season.
It's already back. So
he's already back.
New show coming out tomorrow. And actually in a couple weeks, very own Brian McCrory will be on there.
Yes.
And then soon after that, AD will be on there. And so tomorrow, every Friday, 2:00 Eastern time, you have a new show coming out. I'm trying to put a whole lot of content out this season. And actually, I may not even stop the season. I just might just keep it going. Yeah, it's just good conversations with people about, we're talking about brokenness right now. And how life kind of tries to break us, but ways we put things back together.
That's awesome. So definitely check it out. Disruptive Dialogue. All right. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. 988. You or someone you love having a mental health crisis, make sure you dial 988 and know that we love you, but Jesus loves you better. Stay safe. Make good choices. Peace out.